Right now, you might feel like the ground beneath your feet is cracking, like the plans you worked so hard to build have quietly fallen apart. Maybe the people you leaned on have drifted away. Maybe when you look in the mirror, you barely recognize the person staring back. If you are between 25 and 65, chances are you have lived long enough to know that life can shift in a single phone call, a single diagnosis, a single decision. That feeling in your chest right now is real. Fear usually shows up first. It feels tight, cold, almost physical. Your breathing gets shallow. Then doubt begins to whisper. Maybe I was never strong enough. Maybe I am too late. And then panic steps in. Panic does not whisper. It shouts. It drowns out logic. It drowns out hope. It convinces you that this moment is permanent. But hear this clearly. This moment will not last forever. You are not trapped. You are not finished. Even if you cannot see it yet, something new is already forming beneath the surface of your life. Growth rarely announces itself. It often feels like confusion. It feels like exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. It feels like losing the old version of yourself before the new one is ready to stand. That is not weakness. That is transformation. On Stoicism Breath, we talk often about what the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in his private journal. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Think about that for a second. He wrote those words while leading an empire through war and plague. He did not control the chaos around him. He controlled the space inside him. And so can you. You do not need a perfect 5-year plan right now. You do not need to understand why everything happened. You only need to take the next breath. Just this one. Slow it down. Feel your lungs expand. Feel your shoulders drop. Science tells us that when you lengthen your exhale, you activate the calming part of your nervous system. That is not motivational fluff. That is biology. Your body begins to quiet when you breathe deliberately. In a world that feels out of control, that small act is power. Every morning you get out of bed, when it would be easier to stay under the covers, that matters. Every time you choose to stay committed when walking away would be simpler, that matters. These are not small things. They are sentences in a story that is still being written, and you are still holding the pen. Now let me tell you something important. Panic lies about permanence. It tells you that this sadness is your new identity, that this failure defines you, that the walls closing in are the final walls. But look at your own life. Think back 5 years, 10 years. Were there days you were certain you would never recover? And yet here you are. Nothing in life stays the same. Not pain, not grief, not confusion, not even joy. Life is not a still photograph. It is movement. It is seasons. Winter feels endless when you are in it, but it never wins permanently. So here is the question I want you to sit with. What if this season is not the end of your story, but the turning point? What if the discomfort you feel right now is evidence that you still care deeply about your life? What if this pressure is shaping you into someone steadier, wiser, calmer? You do not need to conquer the entire future tonight. You only need to take the next small step. Breathe. Stay. Keep going. And if this message resonates with you, type this and make it yours. I will endure. I will rise. Because you are stronger than your fears. And on Stoicism Breath, we remember one simple truth. Life will change. It always does. Life is a river. It keeps moving even when the surface looks completely calm. You are moving with it whether you feel progress or not. Think about your own life for a moment. Was there a time, maybe 5 years ago, maybe just last year, when you felt completely shattered? A season when the weight you were carrying felt so heavy you were not sure you could stand under it? Nights when you lay awake staring at the ceiling convinced that the heartbreak, the embarrassment, the financial stress, or the loss would define the rest of your life? And yet, you are still here. You survived those days. You made it through those nights. You carried burdens you thought would crush you. That is not luck. That is evidence. Evidence that the hardest moments do not last forever. They pass. They always pass. On Stoicism Breath, this is one of the truths we return to again and again. Life changes. Even when it feels frozen, it is still in motion. The real danger of panic is not just that it makes you feel terrible. The deeper damage is that it erases your memory of strength. It convinces you that this time is different, that this time there is no door. And when you believe that, you stop looking. You stop moving. You freeze. There is a powerful line that says where there is ruin there is hope for treasure. What if the parts of your life that feel broken right now are not useless rubble? What if they are being cleared? Prepared? Think about how muscle grows. It breaks down first, under tension, under stress. Then it rebuilds stronger. Emotional resilience works the same way. The pressure you feel may be shaping you for something you could never have discovered in comfort. Another subtle lie panic tells is that you must solve everything immediately. That you need certainty about how this ends. That you must control the outcome before you can relax. But certainty about the future has never been available to any human being. Not to you. Not to anyone you admire. The harder you chase certainty, the more anxious and exhausted you become. Peace does not come from controlling every outcome. Peace comes from engaging with the present moment honestly. From asking what is the next small step I can take today. Not next year. Not next month. Today. Most meaningful change happens quietly. It happens in how you respond instead of react. In how you choose to endure one more difficult day. Every small act of persistence is proof that the river is still moving. It is also important to understand what is happening in your body when panic rises. Your nervous system is not your enemy. It is trying to protect you. The racing heart, the tight chest, the shallow breathing. These are ancient survival responses designed to protect you from immediate physical danger. The problem is your brain does not always know the difference between a lion in the grass and an uncertain future about your career or your health. When you understand this, something shifts. Instead of being afraid of your fear, you begin to see it as a system firing too loudly. And that is where something simple but powerful comes in. Slow breathing. This is not motivational talk. It is physiology. When you extend your exhale longer than your inhale, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for calm and recovery. Your heart rate begins to slow. Your body gets the message that you are safe. Panic cannot hold on when your breathing is steady and slow. It depends on rapid, shallow breaths to keep its grip. So right now, take one slow breath. Inhale gently. Exhale even longer. In that moment, you reclaim a small but real sense of control. Not over the entire future, but over this moment. You are not frozen. You are not finished. You are still moving, even now. And here is something else you need to hear. You are growing in ways you cannot yet see. Growth is rarely loud. It does not come with applause. It does not send you a notification saying congratulations, you have leveled up. Most of the time, growth feels like confusion. Like the life that once fit you no longer does. Like a coat you used to love that suddenly feels too tight across the shoulders. That discomfort is not failure. It is expansion. It is evidence that the old version of you can no longer contain who you are becoming. And even if you cannot see it clearly yet, something stronger is forming beneath the surface. On Stoicism Breath, we remember that transformation is often invisible while it is happening. But one day you will look back and realize this was the season that quietly changed everything. At Stoicism Breath, let me tell you something clearly. That feeling you have right now, the discomfort, the restlessness, the sense that something no longer fits is not failure. It is evidence. Evidence that you have outgrown the person you used to be. Growth does not wait until you feel comfortable. It does not knock politely and ask if you are ready. It does not check your calendar. Growth begins the moment the old version of you can no longer contain who you are becoming. And that moment almost always feels like breaking before it feels like becoming. Maybe lately you have been scrolling through social media or looking around at friends and colleagues and thinking everyone else is ahead. They are buying homes, celebrating promotions, building families, launching businesses. And you feel stuck, invisible, like you are treading water while the world keeps moving forward without you. But here is what comparison completely misses. You cannot see what is happening beneath the surface of your own life. Right now your mind is learning resilience in a way it never had to before. Real resilience is not built by reading quotes or watching motivational videos. It is built by navigating uncertainty, by making hard decisions, by waking up and facing days you did not ask for. Your heart is developing endurance. Your sense of self is digging deeper, searching for stability in something stronger than good circumstances. You do not build that kind of foundation during easy seasons. It is forged in pressure. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said that difficulties show us who we are in this moment under pressure, not who we were yesterday. Not who we wish we were. Who we are right now. Difficulty is not the opposite of strength. It is the place where strength is revealed. Think about it. In a comfortable life, patience sleeps. Adaptability sleeps. Courage sleeps. It takes pressure to wake those qualities up. So if you feel stretched right now, it may be because something inside you is being strengthened. You are not falling apart. You are being rebuilt from the inside out. Like roots growing under the soil. You cannot see them. You cannot measure them. But they are stretching deeper, creating the kind of stability that will one day hold something remarkable above ground. The most important growth is almost always invisible. It happens in the space between fear and choice. Every time you breathe through anxiety instead of surrendering to it. Every time you have the honest conversation you have been avoiding. Every time you wake up and try again without any guarantee it will work. That quiet persistence is not meaningless. It is some of the most important work you will ever do. And here is something worth sitting with. You are not the same person you were a year ago. The challenges you have faced have refined you. They have made you more honest about what actually matters. More selective about where you spend your time and energy. More self-aware than you used to be. That is not loss. That is refinement. Trust the version of yourself that is still forming. Trust that life is not punishing you. It is preparing you. One day what feels confusing now will make sense in hindsight. It often does. And let me remind you of something powerful. You have survived every hard day before this one. Think back to a moment in your life when you were not sure you would make it through. Maybe it was a health scare, a breakup, a job loss, a season of deep anxiety. Remember how heavy your chest felt, how your mind told you, "This is too much, I cannot handle this." And yet here you are. You made it through that day. You made it through that night. You carried weight you were convinced would crush you. Something inside you refused to quit even when quitting seemed like the only option left. That was not luck. That was resilience. And here is the truth most people overlook. You did not need to feel strong to survive. You did not need perfect clarity or a flawless plan. You just needed to keep breathing, to keep showing up. Sometimes barely, sometimes imperfectly, but consistently enough. Research in psychology shows that human beings are far more adaptable than we predict during stressful events. We consistently underestimate our own capacity to cope. Panic tries to erase that memory. It wants you to believe this time is different. This time is impossible. But your past is full of evidence that you can handle hard things. At Stoicism Breath, we come back to this again and again. You are stronger than the voice of panic. You are deeper than this current chapter. And if you have survived every difficult day up to this moment, then there is powerful evidence that you can survive this one too. Panic has a strategy. It tries to trap you in the present moment and disconnect you from your own history of strength. It whispers that this time is different. This time is too much. But your life tells a different story. You have faced uncertainty before and eventually found your footing. You have experienced loss and still kept living. You have felt fear and moved forward anyway, even when every step felt heavy. That is not theory. That is your track record. On Stoicism Breath, we return to this truth often because it is grounding. Your past is proof, and proof matters. There is a powerful line often attributed to the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Think about that for a moment. The strength to endure is not reserved for superheroes or monks on mountaintops. It is available to ordinary people with a reason to keep going. A child who depends on them. A partner they love. A dream not yet finished. A version of themselves they are still becoming. Research in psychology supports this idea. Studies on resilience show that people who maintain a sense of purpose are significantly more likely to recover from trauma and prolonged stress. Purpose stabilizes the nervous system. It gives pain context. It does not erase hardship, but it makes hardship survivable. Your strength has never been measured by how easy your life is. It is measured by your willingness to keep going when it is not. And by that measure, you are far stronger than you think. Life is not asking you to be fearless right now. It is not asking you to deny your pain or perform confidence you do not feel. It is simply asking you to keep moving. Slowly if you must. Imperfectly if you must. Survival rarely looks dramatic. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed when your body feels heavy. Sometimes it looks like making a cup of tea and focusing on the next 60 minutes instead of the next 10 years. Sometimes it looks like crying in the shower, drying your face, and quietly deciding to try again tomorrow. All of that counts. Every bit of it counts. And here is something important. The fact that you survived hard things does not mean those things were acceptable. It does not mean the loss was fair or the pain was somehow secretly good for you. Some experiences are simply hard. Some losses are simply real. You are allowed to acknowledge that fully. Survival does not require you to turn your suffering into a motivational quote. It gives you something much simpler and more solid. A fact. You have done hard things before. That is the gift. Not a grand explanation. Not a cosmic reason. Just a fact. And facts carry weight. When you remember clearly that you have survived 100% of your hardest days so far, something shifts. The difficulty in front of you may not shrink, but your sense of capacity expands to meet it. This day is not separate from the rest of your story. It is part of the same pattern. And life will change again. It always does. There is another truth that is harder to accept. Sometimes life breaks what cannot carry your future. When a relationship ends, when a job disappears, when a dream dissolves, it does not feel like preparation. It feels like punishment. It can feel personal, like something important was taken from you unfairly. That grief is real. Do not rush past it. The body needs time to process loss. The brain needs time to reorganize its expectations. Neuroscience shows that emotional pain activates many of the same pathways as physical pain. Of course it hurts. But hold this alongside your grief. Not instead of it. Alongside it. Not everything that leaves your life is a tragedy. Some things leave because their role is complete. Some relationships cannot grow with the person you are becoming. Some environments cannot support the next level of your development. What once fit you may no longer be strong enough to carry where you are headed. Imagine trying to pour new wine into an old cracked container. The container breaks not because the wine is wrong, but because the structure cannot hold the expansion. At Stoicism Breath, this is where we pause and reflect. Instead of asking, why is this being taken from me? Ask, what is this making room for? Instead of assuming loss equals failure, consider that it may be clearing space for something more aligned with who you are now. Growth often requires release. And release almost always feels like loss before it feels like freedom. You are not being singled out. You are being shaped. And even if you cannot see the full picture yet, your history of survival and your capacity for purpose are still with you. That is enough to take the next step. There are seasons in life when certain relationships, habits, and environments are exactly what we need. They support us. They shape us. They teach us. But not everything that is meaningful is meant to be permanent. At Stoicism Breath, we talk often about seasons because growth is seasonal. Some people walk with you through a chapter, not the entire book. Some habits protect you during survival mode but cannot carry you into your next level of health and clarity. Some environments once felt like home, but slowly begin to feel too small for who you are becoming. And when that shift begins, life in its strange and sometimes painful wisdom starts to loosen your grip. Not because you are being punished, but because you are expanding. When a dream collapses, it rarely means you are finished dreaming. More often it is a redirection. Think about a career you once believed was the only path for you. At 25 it made sense. It matched your knowledge, your fears, your ambitions at the time. But now you have different experience, different wounds, different strengths. Of course the dream might need to change. The original dream belonged to an earlier version of you. Research in adult development shows that our values evolve over time. What feels urgent in one decade often shifts in the next. So when a dream dissolves, it may not be failure. It may be correction guiding you towards something that actually fits the person you are now and not the person you thought you had to be. The same is true for relationships. When a relationship ends, it often reflects growth that the dynamic could no longer contain. The version of you inside that relationship may have outgrown the structure around it. That is not weakness. That is change. And change almost always feels uncomfortable and unwanted before it feels liberating. The spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle once wrote that sometimes letting go is an act of far greater power than defending or hanging on. Holding on requires constant energy, constant justification, constant effort to maintain something that may already be complete. When your hands are full clinging to what was, they cannot receive what is trying to arrive. Letting go does not feel powerful in the moment. It feels like loss. It feels like emptiness. But that emptiness is space. And space is necessary for renewal. It takes real courage to release what is familiar, even when what is familiar is hurting you. Familiarity has gravity. Your brain prefers the known even if the known is stressful because predictability feels safe. Studies in neuroscience show that uncertainty activates threat responses in the brain. So of course, letting go feels scary. Your nervous system interprets it as risk. But releasing something that no longer serves you is an act of quiet bravery. Not dramatic. Not loud. Quiet. The kind that happens in private when you decide you deserve alignment more than comfort. On the other side of genuine letting go, something important becomes clear. Your identity was never tied to one person, one job, one chapter. You are not defined by what you have, or who stands beside you, or what your life looks like from the outside. You are deeper and more constant than any external role. This moment of loss is not your destruction. It is your transition. And transitions by definition lead somewhere new even if the destination is not yet visible. There is another form of panic that often creeps in during these transitions. The panic of comparison. You look around and see someone your age who seems to have everything organized. The career, the house, the family, the milestones you thought you would reach by now. And you wonder if your timeline is broken. But your timeline is not broken. Comparison compresses complex lives into simple snapshots. You see their highlight moment, not their private doubts. You see their achievement, not the years of uncertainty behind it. Every life unfolds at a different pace, shaped by different circumstances, choices, and challenges. At Stoicism Breath, we remind ourselves that growth is not a race. There is no universal clock you must obey. The only timeline that matters is the one that aligns with your development, your healing, your purpose. Instead of asking, "Why am I behind?" ask, "What am I learning in this season that I would have missed if everything had arrived early?" Sometimes the delay is building strength, clarity, and resilience that will make the eventual milestone more stable and more meaningful. Your journey is not late. It is unfolding. And just because you cannot see the full map does not mean you are lost. It may simply mean you are in the middle of becoming.